Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the waves rolling in and out, each one carrying away a burden you've held for far too long. Now, imagine if, with each ebb and flow, you could release the weight of guilt, fear, and the need to control what was never yours to hold. This is the journey of the language of letting go by Melody Beattie, a journey of surrender, self-discovery, and healing from the grips of codependency. How often do we find ourselves entangled in the lives of others, sacrificing our own well-being for the illusion of control, for the hope of acceptance, for the desperate need to be needed? How many times have we clung to relationships that drained us, mistaking suffering for love and self-sacrifice for virtue? We tell ourselves that if we try harder, if we love more, if we fix what is broken, then perhaps, just perhaps, we will finally feel whole. But what if the key to wholeness isn't found in fixing others, but in setting ourselves free? What if, instead of holding on, we learn to let go? The language of letting go is not just a book. It is a daily companion, a guiding light through the murky waters of codependency, a voice whispering in the quiet moments that you are enough, just as you are. With each meditation, Melody Beattie extends an invitation to step out of old patterns, to reclaim your voice, to trust that you are worthy of love without conditions or compromise. This book is not about abandonment, it is about liberation. It is about learning the art of detachment, not as an act of rejection, but as an embrace of self-respect. It is about breaking free from the chains of resentment, guilt, and misplaced responsibility and stepping into a life where you are no longer defined by what you do for others, but by the love and care you show yourself. As you turn these pages, you will be reminded, day by day, meditation by meditation, that letting go is not a single act, but a lifelong practice. And in that practice, you will find strength, peace, and a love that is no longer dependent on the whims of another, but rooted deeply within you. So, I invite you now, take a deep breath, open your heart, and prepare to embark on the most important journey of all, the journey back to yourself. Part 1 Summary. Introduction. The journey of letting go. Dear readers, today we embark on a journey not of miles, but of the soul. A journey that leads us from the tight grip of control, from the exhausting burden of emotional entanglement, to the liberating embrace of peace, freedom, and self-acceptance. Melody Beattie, in her timeless book The Language of Letting Go, offers us more than words. She offers a beacon of light for those entangled in the web of codependency, a path to rediscovering our true selves. And so, as we step forward into this path, let us not merely listen but absorb. Let us not merely understand but awaken. Let us, together, learn the language of letting go. Part 1. Recognizing the chains. Chapter 1. The weight we carry. We do not wake up one morning and suddenly become codependent. No, my friends, this is a slow, quiet transformation, shaped by the world around us, by relationships that demand too much, by wounds unhealed, by a desperate longing to be needed. Melody Beattie begins by holding up a mirror, allowing us to see the burdens we carry. Codependency is more than an unhealthy attachment. It is a silent thief, robbing us of our peace, our joy, our identity. It convinces us that we must fix, must control, must give endlessly, even as we are drained to nothing. But here, in this first step, Beattie does not shame us. No, she gently whispers the truth. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are merely holding onto what is not yours to carry. And so, my friends, the first step in learning the language of letting go is this recognition. We must see the chains before we can break them. Chapter 2. The illusion of control. What a powerful thing it is to believe we can control others, to believe that if we just try harder, love deeper, sacrifice more, then everything will be okay. But, oh, what a painful deception it is. Beattie pulls back the curtain on this illusion. She teaches us that control is not love, that manipulation even when done in the name of care, is not kindness. She reminds us that people will walk their own paths, make their own mistakes, and that their choices are not ours to bear. To let go is not to abandon. It is not to stop loving. It is to release the desperate grip of control, to trust that we are responsible for ourselves and ourselves alone. It is to surrender, not to hopelessness, but to the wisdom that we are not the keepers of another's fate. And so, we must ask ourselves, what are we holding on to that is not ours to hold? Chapter 3. The Fear of Letting Go. Oh, but what terror letting go brings. To surrender control, to release our grip, is to step into the unknown, and the unknown is a terrifying place. Beattie understands this fear. She speaks of the panic, the deep sense of loss, the whisper that tells us, if I stop trying, everything will fall apart. But, my friends, this is not the voice of truth. It is the voice of fear. For letting go is not destruction. It is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the doorway to a life where we are free, free from the weight of fixing others, free to embrace our own needs, our own desires, our own journey. And so, we are challenged to ask, what lies on the other side of letting go? Chapter 4. The Power of Self-Awareness. Now, as we stand on the edge of transformation, we must turn inward. Who are we beyond our role as caregivers, beyond our patterns of control? What do we feel when we are no longer distracted by the struggles of others? This chapter calls us to self-awareness, to pause in the stillness and listen to our own hearts. Beattie encourages us to recognize our emotions, to name them, to honor them, not to push them aside for the sake of another, but to truly feel them. For too long, we have ignored our own pain. We have numbed ourselves with the busyness of fixing, of pleasing, of rescuing. But now, we are invited to awaken, to step into our own truth, to see ourselves not as saviors, but as souls deserving of love and care. And so, my friends, we must ask, who am I beyond what I do for others? Chapter 5. Releasing the Guilt. Guilt, the relentless chain that keeps us bound. How often do we feel that if we let go, we are selfish? If we say no, we are cruel? If we prioritize ourselves, we are unworthy? But hear me when I say this. You are allowed to take care of yourself. Beattie teaches us that guilt is often misplaced. It is a tool used by our past, by our conditioning, by those who benefit from our self-sacrifice. But guilt is not truth. And so, we are given permission to put ourselves first, to rest, to heal, to say no without shame. This is not selfishness, dear friends. This is survival. This is self-love. We must ask ourselves, what guilt have I carried that is not mine to bear? Chapter 6. The First Steps Toward Freedom. Now we stand at a crossroads. We have recognized the chains, faced our fears, confronted our patterns. But knowing is not enough. We must take action. Beattie offers small, practical steps, daily meditations, simple affirmations, gentle shifts in behavior. She teaches us to pause before reacting, to breathe before rescuing, to remind ourselves, it is not my job to fix others. Each step, no matter how small, is a rebellion against the life we have lived in servitude to codependency. Each step is a declaration of self-worth. Each step is a whisper of freedom. And so, I leave you with this. What is one small step you can take today toward letting go? Closing thoughts. The road ahead. My friends, we have only begun. The path to healing is not a sprint, nor is it a straight road. It is a winding journey, filled with resistance, with doubt, but also with breathtaking moments of liberation. As we move forward into part 2, we will dive deeper into boundaries, into self-love, into the practical application of this newfound wisdom. But for now, let us sit with this truth. We are worthy of freedom. We are worthy of peace. We are worthy of letting go. The journey has begun. Let us walk it together. Part 2 Summary. Introduction. Stepping into freedom. My friends, We have stood at the crossroads. We have looked deep into the patterns that bind us, into the illusions of control, into the weight of guilt that has kept us tethered to lives that do not truly serve us. And now we step forward. In part 2 of The Language of Letting Go, Melody Beattie leads us further along the path, not just of recognition, but of transformation. She teaches us not only to let go, but to reclaim. To reclaim our peace, our power, our joy. This, my friends, is where the true healing begins. Part 2, Reclaiming Our Power. Chapter 7, The Art of Setting Boundaries. Oh, how difficult it is to say no. How often have we stretched ourselves thin, given beyond our limits, allowed others to take from us until nothing remains.
And why?
Because we fear rejection. We fear being unloved. We fear disappointing those who rely on us. But hear me when I say this. Boundaries are not walls. They are doorways to self-respect. Melody Beattie teaches us that boundaries are not about shutting others out, but about allowing ourselves to remain whole. A boundary is saying, I love you, but I love me too. It is saying, I will support you, but not at the cost of my own well-being. It is saying, I matter. And so, my friends, we must ask ourselves, where in my life do I need stronger boundaries? Chapter 8, The Courage to Disappoint Others. Disappointment, a word that has haunted us, that has kept us imprisoned in the expectations of others. How many times have we swallowed our truth to keep the peace? How often have we agreed, conceded, sacrificed, just to avoid upsetting those around us? But Beattie reminds us of a truth that shakes us to our core. You are not responsible for how others feel about your boundaries. Let me say that again. You are not responsible for how others feel about your boundaries. People will be upset when we change. They will resist, they will push back, they will call us selfish, distant, uncaring. But their disappointment is not our burden to carry. Our duty is not to keep everyone else comfortable, it is to be true to ourselves. And so, we must ask, what have I been afraid to say because I fear disappointing someone? Chapter 9, Letting Go of Guilt, Once and for All. Oh, how guilt clings to us. How it whispers in our ears. You should have done more. You should have been better. You should have stayed, endured, given more of yourself. But Beattie calls out this lie for what it is. Guilt is often misplaced responsibility. We have carried burdens that were never meant to be ours. We have apologized for existing, for needing space, for wanting more from life. But now, my friends, it is time to lay guilt down. It is time to step into self-forgiveness, to understand that we are not responsible for the happiness of others. And so, we are called to release, to breathe, to let go, without guilt, without shame, without apology. Let us ask ourselves, what guilt have I been carrying that no longer serves me? Chapter 10, Learning the Beauty of Saying No. There is power in a single word, no. Yet, for so many of us, it is the hardest word to speak.
Why?
Because we believe that to say no is to reject, to wound, to let others down. But Beattie shifts our perspective. She reminds us that every time we say yes to something that drains us, we are saying no to ourselves. Every time we overextend, overgive, overcommit, we are depleting the energy meant for our own healing. Saying no is not cruelty, it is self-respect. It is the recognition that we, too, deserve rest, peace, and joy. And so, we must practice. We must stand in front of the mirror and say it out loud. No, I cannot do that. No, that is not my responsibility. No, I deserve better. Because, my friends, we do. Chapter 11, Trusting the Process of Healing. Healing is not a single moment. It is a journey, a slow, sometimes painful, often uncomfortable journey. There will be days when we feel strong and days when we feel weak. There will be times when we fall back into old habits, when we doubt ourselves, when we question whether we are truly capable of change. But Beattie assures us, healing is never linear, but it is always possible. We must trust the process. We must trust that with each step, no matter how small, we are moving forward. We must trust that even when it feels like we are failing, we are still growing. And so, we must ask ourselves, can I be patient with my own healing? Chapter 12. Stepping into our power. Now, my friends, we arrive at the turning point. We have learned. We have unburdened. We have released. And now we rise. Beattie reminds us that letting go is not just about what we leave behind. It is about what we step into. We step into confidence. We step into self-worth. We step into a life that is no longer dictated by the needs, emotions, and expectations of others. For the first time, we ask ourselves, what do I want? Not what does someone else need? Not what will make everyone happy, but what do I want? And that, my friends, is the beginning of true freedom. Closing thoughts, the power of letting go. We began this journey with clenched fists, holding on tightly to people, to control, to guilt, to exhaustion. But now we open our hands. We release. Because letting go does not mean losing. It means gaining. Gaining peace. Gaining clarity. Gaining the life we were meant to live. And so, as we move forward, let us carry this truth with us. We are not responsible for fixing others. We are allowed to say no. We are worthy of love without sacrifice. We are free to let go. The journey is not over, my friends. But today, we have taken another step toward freedom. And that is something worth celebrating. Part 3 Summary. Introduction. Stepping into wholeness. My friends, we have walked a long road together. We have looked at ourselves honestly. We have confronted our patterns. We have loosened the grip of guilt, learned the art of saying no, and begun the journey of reclaiming our power. But what comes next? Once we have let go of what no longer serves us, what do we fill that space with? The answer, my friends, is ourselves. In this final part of the language of letting go, Melody Beattie takes us beyond survival. She takes us into thriving. She teaches us how to embrace self-love, to live with gratitude, and to step into the fullness of life without fear. This is the moment we've been waiting for. This is the beginning of joy. Part 3. Embracing Self-Love and Freedom. Chapter 13. The Radical Act of Self-Love. Let us speak of love, not the love we give away so freely, not the love we bend over backward to receive, but the love we give to ourselves. Beattie tells us that self-love is not selfish, it is essential. It is the foundation of every healthy relationship, every fulfilled dream, every moment of true happiness. But how do we love ourselves when we have spent so long abandoning our own needs? We start small. We speak to ourselves with kindness. We celebrate our progress, no matter how slow. We forgive ourselves for past mistakes. We honor our emotions without shame. We wake up every morning and say, I am enough. Because, my friends, we are. Chapter 14. Gratitude, the key to joy. So many of us have spent years living in survival mode, always waiting for the next problem, the next heartbreak, the next betrayal. But Beattie reminds us, joy is found in the present. And the key to unlocking that joy? Gratitude. Gratitude shifts everything. It is the difference between seeing what is missing and seeing what is already here. It turns simple moments into miracles, small victories into triumphs. But gratitude is a practice. It requires us to slow down, to take notice, to whisper thank you. Even when life feels imperfect, even when things don't go our way. Because when we cultivate gratitude, we invite more beauty into our lives. And that is the beginning of true abundance. So, let us ask ourselves, what am I grateful for today? Chapter 15. Releasing Fear and Trusting Life. Oh, my friends, how fear has held us captive. The fear of failure, the fear of being alone, the fear of uncertainty. It is a heavy burden to carry, one that keeps us from stepping into the life we were meant to live. But Beattie teaches us a powerful truth. Fear is a liar. Fear tells us we are not strong enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. But the truth? We have always been enough. And so, we must release fear and replace it with trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in the universe, trust that we are exactly where we are meant to be. Because when we trust life, we stop resisting. We stop forcing. We stop trying to control every outcome. And suddenly, we are free. Chapter 16. Finding Peace in the Present Moment. How often do we live in the past, replaying old wounds, reliving old mistakes? How often do we worry about the future, about things that have not even happened yet? But life, my friends, is happening now. Beattie teaches us that peace is not something we find one day. Peace is something we choose today. It is in the quiet moments, the deep breaths, the simple pleasures. It is in learning to sit with ourselves without judgment, to embrace the present without needing to change it. And when we learn to be present, we discover something incredible. Life is far more beautiful than we ever realized. Chapter 17. The Power of Forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about excusing the people who hurt us. It is not about pretending the pain never happened. Forgiveness, Beattie tells us, is about freeing ourselves. Because holding on to resentment does not punish the other person, it punishes us. It keeps us trapped in the past, chained to anger, unable to move forward. So we forgive, not for them, but for us. And that forgiveness? It is not always a single moment. Sometimes it is a daily choice. But with each step, the weight becomes lighter, the heart becomes freer, and life becomes ours again. Chapter 18. Embracing the Future with Open Arms. And now, my friends, we stand on the edge of something new. We have let go of the need to control. We have released guilt. We have set boundaries. We have chosen self-love. And now, we look forward, not with fear, but with hope. Because Beattie reminds us that life is not meant to be endured. Life is meant to be lived. So what does that look like for you? Is it pursuing a dream you have long ignored? Is it traveling, creating, starting anew? Is it simply learning to wake up each morning and say, I am happy to be here? Whatever it is, know this, you are ready. Closing thoughts, we are free. My friends, we began this journey believing that letting go meant loss. But now, we see the truth. Letting go has given us everything. We are free from guilt. We are free from resentment. We are free from fear. We are free to live as our truest selves. And that, my friends, is the greatest gift of all. So go forward. Live with joy. Love yourself fiercely. Trust the journey. Because this is not the end. This is only the beginning. Thanks for listening to BookBuzz reviews and summaries. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new video updates.